Jayadvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paripuracharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Mukund Radha Kunigiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai, Navadip Tham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you, Kendra Prabhu, for leading us in Kirtan. And thank you, dear devotees, for joining us this evening. It's a special eve of Janmashtami, night before Janmashtami, as we prepare our consciousness to absorb our mind in Supreme Lord on a special day tomorrow and on the day after when we glorify the great devotee Srila Prabhupada. It's a very exciting time of the year, and I thank you all for joining this evening as we move along on the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And as always, there will be interaction. Questions, comments are very welcome. And so please feel free to raise your hand or type your comment or question in the chat box, and we'll try to get to it. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That means someone's calling the temple. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakoda Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for coming. We're on text 19 of the second chapter. Itam munis tu paramed vyavastito vijnanadrig virya sranditashayaha saparshni na pidya udam tato nidam sthaneshu sat sun namayej chitaklamaha. Ittam, in this way. In this way means, in the previous verse it's described that the transcendentalist, the devotee, is directed. He worships the lotus feet of the Lord. He gives up the causes of material perplexity to engage in devotional service by the yoga system. And by the strength of scientific knowledge, one should be well situated in absolute realization and thus be able to extinguish all material desires. One should then give up the material body by blocking the air hole through which stool is evacuated with the heel of one's foot and by lifting the life air from one place to another in the 6 primary places. So there are several words that Prabhupada comments on. One is, of course, jitaklama. Jitaklama means extinguishing material desires. There are many duratmas who claim to have realized themselves as Brahma and yet are unable to conquer material desires. In Bhagavad Gita 1854, it is clearly explained that an absolutely self-realized soul becomes aloof from all material desires. Brahmabhuta prasanatma nashochati nakangshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. By material desires are based on the false ego of the living being and are exhibited by his childish and useless activities to conquer the laws of material nature, and by his desire to lord it over the resources of the material nature. And from there, Prabhupada's into the next word that he focuses on, Vijnanadrik. Drik means vision, and Vijnan. Vijnan means realization as distinct from book knowledge, Gyan, and it also means science. I think in Indic languages, Vigyan is the standard term for science. Am I right? Hindi mein and so on. Vigyan means science.
Yeah,
Am I
that's
right?
how it's directly translated in.
Directly translated. Vigyan is science. So it's an interesting conjunction. It means science, just as there are so many words that are appropriated for different purposes. Vigyan means science, but going further back, it means realization. So Prabhupada criticizes here with the mentality of lording it over material nature. One is led to believe in the strength of material science with its discovery of atomic energy and space travel by mechanical vehicles. And by such tiny advancements in material science, the false egoist tries to challenge even the strength of the Supreme Lord, who can finish all man's tiny endeavors in less than a second. So if you think about it, there's this enormous, what would you say, confidence, or this enormous pride and confidence that we can essentially accomplish whatever we set out to accomplish. We can conquer space, we can conquer the oceans, we can build bridges and highways and atomic energy. There's some super ultra collider out in the West somewhere where they have like, I don't know how many guns pointed at a single helium atom, and they're looking at how they're going to, is it helium or hydrogen, one or the other, and they're looking at how they're going to harness that kind of energy for when the oil runs out. So there's all these wonderful things, first of all, that science has accomplished, and then the things that they're talking about accomplishing. So with all that, we become very proud. We can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that. We've done this, we've done that. We used to think this, and now we know that. But meanwhile, we don't know who we are. We don't know what the purpose of our life is. We're falsely thinking that life comes from chemicals, and we celebrate our not only ignorance, but our arrogance as knowledge. To think that one can create life from chemicals is not only ignorant, but arrogant. But we celebrate that as science, even though it's not science. Science means what you can be sure of by experiments and by replication and so on. What's within your empiric jurisdiction, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur calls it. But consciousness and the origin of life, these things are beyond the purview of science. It's really metaphysics. but the scientists are so proud of their scientific accomplishments that they presume to be on top of metaphysics also. So they have, where does life come from? Life comes from matter. Well, that's just a metaphysical assumption. They haven't proved it. They don't have any scientific, they can't demonstrate it. If you ask for a step-by-step, they can't produce it. They'll teach it in school, but they can't show you actually how life comes from matter. So Vijnanadrik, their Vijnanadrik is false. It's a kind of arrogance. But the Vijnanadrik described here is the understanding of a self-realized soul who ceases to exhibit his useless activities of attempting to lord it over material nature. Being scientifically well-informed, he fully engages himself in faithful devotion to the Lord. So this is a very opposite science to the atheistic or reductionistic, mechanistic science that wants to have hegemony over the modern understanding. So here the devotee has genuine scientific knowledge, in part because he ceased from material desires. When our material desires are prominent, then it interferes with our vision. We can't see things properly. Our vision is, skewed by material desires. Kamais taister hritagan. So here, the scientist is the self-realized soul. And what is he doing? Now there's another science, which Prabhupada, I think in this purport says, was known to everyone back in the day, but is now no longer within our area of practice. And that's the science of gradually lifting the life air from chakra to chakra. One seals off all the holes in the body, beginning from the rectal outlet, and by strength of yogic power, lifts the life force so that one can go back home, back to Godhead. I heard an interesting story this morning from Bibi Govinda Maharaj. He'd gone to the Kumbh Mela, Allahabad Kumbh Mela, and one day they were doing big kirtan. They had a big kirtan party, and there was some Baba there who was like 350 to 400 years old. He said Prabhupada had recognized, had confirmed that. So he was a very, accomplished. These people come to Kumbh Mela, people who they knew your father, they knew your grandfather, they knew your great-grandfather. So Govinda Maharaj and Indradyumna Maharaj decided that they would go to where he was. So they went there, and he had just like a little, like chatai hut, and there were like 1,000 people around, all waiting for his darshan. But he was inside. But then when he heard the kirtan party, he came out. And one of his followers had like a little microphone on a strap to a bamboo pole so that he could address the people. And he said that I'm a yogi, but you can't do what I do. I'm doing this yoga practice, but this is not the practice for the present age. So I can do it, but you can't follow it. So you should follow what these people are doing. You should follow what these people are doing, because this is the actual dharma. They're following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he mentioned. Following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they're following Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And this is the actual principle of dharma for this age. So you can't do what I'm doing, you should follow them. That's what he told them. So that's the conclusion here, that one should follow. Now, we're instructed here for our information, but we're not going to do this. We have to extract the understandings, but we can't follow this practice. Any comments or questions so far? Okay, GD says, Guru Das, American ingenuity. Nothing can conquer the American spirit. Americans can overcome all challenges. And yet it is a great wonder of Maya that this arrogance and false self-assurance also comes from Krishna, albeit by his material energy. Yes, it's called the bewildering energy. By, what is that? Shibir Gunamayar Bhavayar Ebi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Nabijanati Mamebhya Paramavya. By the three modes of nature, everyone, the whole world, is mohita, bewildered. And it's true, this, this pride of but not only American. I wrote this up for Back to Godhead article. I was in Guayaquil, I think, in Ecuador. And I was waiting at the airport, and there was a sign, not a sign, it was inscribed in marble in the airport. Tengo, oh no, it wasn't Guayaquil, it was Lima. And the marble said, Tengo el orgullo de ser peruano. I have the pride of being Peruvian. What is Peru in this world? The major player on the world stage, but tengo el orgullo, or orgullo means pride. Tengo el orgullo de ser peruano. So everybody's proud. The pauper is proud of his penny. Everyone is proud of his little nothing. But actually, we have to be, what is that? Humility is the beginning of knowledge. Kendra has a question. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Jai Maharaj, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
There was one part in the first paragraph of the purport that struck me, and I'd love to hear perhaps your much deeper take on it. But he was talking about the false egoist and the childish and useless activities to conquer the laws of material nature. And then it says, with such a mentality, one is led to believe in the strength of material science with the discovery of atomic energy and space travel and so on. So I was thinking how there are so many different ways to look at any given set of data. And depending on your mentality, you will have faith in one view over another. And Prabhupada here is pounding on those who are led to believe in the strength of material science because they have this, the false egoist mentality. But someone who's practicing devotional service will be led to believe a very different conclusion from the same set of data. And I was just thinking how, depending on how your buddhi is aligned, you'll be led to believe one direction or another, even looking at the very same information.
Yeah. The main thing that they're not looking at is the Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi, that we have to go through birth and death again and again. That's the problem. But they're probably use this word, childish, silly, childish. Childish and useless. I was in a line someplace, and one of the fellows online at an airport was a youngish guy, and he was involved in some way in the Mars mission. So he was all hyped up about going to Mars. I forget what his role was, but it was like so exciting that we're going to Mars. What will you do there? The moon, they were excited about going to the moon, or we were. And what will we do there? We'll eat, sleep, mate, and mainly defend. You know, they'll set up a military installation or this or that or the other thing. But having failed to conquer material nature on Earth, we now want to conquer material nature on the moon, and if not the moon, then Mars. But what does it do? Even we'll find in upcoming verses that the imperfect yogi wants to tour the universe. He gets distracted and becomes interested in higher planets where the kind of powers that the scientists want to achieve are native. Everybody gets them. The ability to become lighter than the lightest, heavier than the heaviest, smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, to be able to create whatever you want at will. Everybody's, just born with that. So the yogi who's immature becomes attracted to those things. Let me see. And how much more childish are those who are here on Earth and they're doing, great things. Mostly a lot of it is real mischief. And what's not mischief often has, what would you say, unforeseen
Unintended
consequences. Yeah, the law of unintended consequences. There's one devotee who was attending MIT, and he had his graduate studies were in part being funded by the government because he was working on how to dispose of atomic waste. And just figuring it out is like a multiple decade program. Looking at the various alternatives, analyzing their pros and cons, figuring out the practicality of it, the feasibility, the affordability. Just that is a multi-decade project. Do we freeze it in glass and then store it underground? Do we do this? Do we do that? They're busy creating it, but they don't know how to dispose of it. The law of unintended consequences. Silly. We're busy doing all these things to make this a better world, and then we get old and die, and then we don't know what happens. So that's, what is my life? What is it for? That I don't know. I'm just busy doing and building and passionate. Panchatattva Prabhu says, we've so wasted this earth with our attempts to dominate it that our scientists talk about going to another planet for a fresh start. Yeah. Do they really say that? That we better start again someplace else? But that's true. They having made a mess of this planet, they want to go to other planets. Any self-respecting government on those other planets would want to keep these monkeys out. Dandavat Samarpan Gopa says, can we paraphrase this wonderful statement we are discussing about mentality as, with mentality founded on false ego, one gets confidence on pratyaksha praman? Yes, you can say that. Through false ego, we think that whatever I can see, and then when I see it, I think I can control it. It's not just seeing, but we're going to command it, we're going to control it, we're going to master it, we're going to, what's the word? Harness it. Harness nuclear energy, harness solar energy, harness this, harness that. And at the end, we're the ones who wind up in the harness. Anything else here so far? Okay. Nabhyam stitam hridyadi adiropyata smad udana gatyorasi tang nayen munihi. Tatonu santaya dhya manasvi swatalu mulam shanakair nayeta. The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, from there to the chest, from there to the root of the palate. You should search out all the proper places with intelligence. So these are the various chakras. The commentators mention Shanai. Slowly, one has to do this. Prabhupada says the meditative devotee. So this is not just a snap process. Very slowly, carefully, deliberately, with it. One has to direct one's intelligence to understand where these chakras are, how I have to move the life air up, slowly, slowly, very carefully. So this is again, a mechanical process. It's a devotional process because the goal is the personality of Godhead, but the approach is mechanical. That's being described here. Anything else on this? Okay. Tasmad bruvor antaram unnayeta niruddha saptayatano napeksha stitva muhurtardham akuntadrishtir nirbhidya murdhan visrajet parangataha. Thereafter, the bhakti yogi should push the life air up between the eyebrows, and then blocking the 7 outlets of the life air, he should maintain his aim for going back home, back to Godhead. If he's completely free from all desires for material enjoyment, he should then reach the cerebral whole and give up his material connections, having gone to the Supreme. So now, this is also described in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The parallel description is there of the yoga system. Bruvor madhye pranam avesha samyak satam, what is that? Upaiti divyam. Bruvor madhye pranam avesha samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. This book is great, by the way, because just when you touch it, you start to remember the verses, the words that you've forgotten. I don't know how this works, but it does. Yes, pruvor madhye pranam avesha samya. Between the eyebrows, one has to focus the life air, and then, if one leaves in the proper way, param purusham upaiti divyam, one can attain the supreme personality of Godhead. Tasmad pruvor antaram unnayeta, one has to gradually bring the life air to this point. Niruddha saptayatana, one has to block all the, you've got this powerful life air. Just picture the yogi, he's drawing this. How powerful is this life air? It's exceedingly powerful. So he's bringing it up by yoga practice, and his goal is to burst through the brahmarandra, the hole in the top of the head. But he has to seal off all the other exits, otherwise the soul's going to burst out that way, through the mouth, which Prabhupada says the usual way people go, but through the ears, through the nostrils. So the yogi has to block up these passages and direct the life air, focus the life air so that it bursts through the skull, through the top of the skull. And anapeksha, he should be detached, free from material desires. Then stitva, situated in this way, muhurtartam akuntadrishtir, he can, his goal is akunta drishti. His goal is akunta, vaikunta, the spiritual association of the personality of Godhead. And what does it say here? Yes. Then he can nirbidya murdhan, punching through the cerebral hole, visrajate. He should give up this body, paramgata, and go back home, back to Godhead. Any questions here?
Panchatattva Prabhu has a comment.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada has described the mechanical processes of Ashtanga Yoga, such as the Hatha Yoga asana endeavors, as meant for persons who are in material consciousness. Yet here we find aspects of that yoga process described in Srimad Bhagavatam. We hear that it was practiced in a previous age when the atmosphere was more conducive by persons more qualified. Is this contradictory? Well, actually, the yoga system is these days practiced by the materialists. They follow some asanas and all of this just for looking better, feeling better. But previously, the yogis would practice this Ashtanga yoga for the spiritual objective. Jnana avastata tadgatena manasa pashantiyam yogina. Their goal was the personality of Godhead. So as we're performing kirtan for the purpose of reviving our Krishna consciousness, the yogis would do that. It wasn't just it was a mechanical process, but it was a mechanical process aimed at spiritual realization. Even you can say that chanting Hare Krishna is a mechanical process. We move the tongue, so there's a mechanism involved, but it's quite simple. Just say Hare, Hare, say Krishna, Krishna. That's easy enough. It's not like drawing your life force from the navel to the chest, from the chest to the palate, and so on. So both involve the functions of the machine, the body. But the present method is very simple, and the method described here, which was meant for previous ages, was more challenging, more difficult. But the goal was the same. What is that? There was a verse, I heard it sort of quoted today. Yadapnoti tadapnoti kalo sankirtya keshavas. Does someone know that verse? I'm sure someone will find it within the next few minutes. The meaning is that the same objective that was obtained in Satya Yuga by the yoga system and obtained in the Treta Yuga by great sacrifices and in Dwapara Yuga by temple worship, Yadapnoti, whatever one could get by those methods in those ages, Tadapnoti, one gets that. Kalo, in the Kali Yuga, Sankirtya Keshava. Yadapnoti, Tadapnoti, Kalo, Sankirtya Keshava. Just by chanting the holy name. All these things that we're hearing that these yogis are getting by this difficult process. Jayan Krite, Yajan Yajais, Dwapare, what is that? I guess. Tretayam Dwaparer Chayan, Yadapnoti Tadapnoti Kalo Sankirtya Keshava. Supreme goal attained in Satya Yuga by years of prolonged meditation, in Treta Yuga by performing extensive yagyas, in Dwapara by opulent and scrupulous deity worship. In Kali Yuga, the same results are easily had simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna. Vishnu Puran. By the way, this Yeah, thank you. That's a better thing. By the way, Samarpan, you can catch the, it's multiple contributions.
Entries.
Samarpan, if you pick up the Unicode plugin for the Vedabase, then you'll get real diacritic marks instead of the ones that you have here. If you go to my website, jswami.info, and look on the right-hand side, there's a list of other websites, and one of them has the title Bhaktivedanta Unicode support or something for the Bhaktivedanta Vedabase. So it's just a little plugin. You change one file for another file, and then you get real diacritic marks, and then that's nice. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, you'll find the instructions are very easy. Anyone who's using the desktop version of the Vedabase, just easy thing to do. You download one little file and replace your old file with this new file, and voila, you get up-to-date diacritics that you can paste in Facebook or anything, wherever you want to, WhatsApp or Zoom. Anything else? Okay. Yadi prayasyan nipa paramestyam Vyhayasanam udayad viharam ashtadipatyam gunasannivaye sahaiva gachchain manasendriyaischa. Yadi, if, however, a yogi maintains a desire for improved material desires, like transference to the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, Paramestyam, or the achievement of the Eightfold Perfections, or travel in outer space with the Vyhayasas, or a situation in one of the millions of planets, then he has to take away with him the materially molded mind and senses. To go back to Godhead, one has to give up this material body, of course. Chatvadeham punarjanmanayati. One has to give up the body, but one has to give up the materially molded mind also. There are two bodies that we're covered by, that the soul is covered by. One is the gross body, one is the subtle body, the mind, the intelligence, the false ego. So to go back to Godhead, you can't bring either of these with you. You can't bring your good looks, you can't bring your PhD, you can't bring your capital, you can't bring your material expertise, you can't bring your scientific credentials. None of this. So one has to leave behind to enter the spiritual atmosphere, you have to leave behind your subtle body and your gross body. I was just thinking, because we were lately visited by a nice black bear. So the hikers are advised, who are traveling in bear country, that don't bring any food with you. You know, all your food has to be like sealed up. Otherwise you'll attract the bears. The bears have this incredible sense of smell. So if you've got something like a candy bar in your pocket, that's enough. The bears will find you out. They're looking for food. So you have to, you can't do that. You can't just have a candy bar. So our material desires, we have to leave behind. Our mind, our false ego. My sense of who I am in this material world. I'm a trustee of this. I'm a director of that. I'm the author of this. I'm the husband of such and such, or the wife of such and such. I'm this, I'm that. I'm an American, I'm a Brahmin, I'm Indian. All these material designations, sarvopati vinir muktam. Tat Brandhain and Nirmala. We have to give all these things up to go back home, back to Godhead. It's rough. We don't want to. As much as we hear about it, still we're attached to our designations. We're attached to all these signs, we're attached to these it's interesting. There's a sociologist long time back, Erik Erikson, who wrote about our identity kit. You've got a mustache and you've got a tie of a certain kind, and you've got a certain kind of car and a certain kind of this and a certain kind of that. You dress a certain way. So this is all part of our identity kit. We announce to the world who we are. Even car designers, there's sporty cars and there's luxury cars, that are designed to look big and fat. This is all has to do with our identity. But these identities are not real. They're not real. So one has to give up all these designations, all of these attachments, all the desires to enjoy in this world, if we want to go back to Godhead. Otherwise, the alternative is that we keep our desires to some extent, and we want to go, the Yiddish word is spazieren, sightseeing. We want to go sightseeing. What's it like to be on what's it like in Brahmaloka? What's it like on the heavenly planets? What's it like to have these mystic powers? I mean, even now, today, if I said that I would give you that, you could have a mystic power by which you could disappear whenever you want, people wouldn't be able to see you, or by which you could control people's minds, or by which you could get anything you wanted from any part of the universe, would you say, nah, not interested? It's attractive. This is attractive stuff. This is attractive stuff. Even materially, a man wants to control a woman's mind, a woman wants to control the man's mind. It's just one little mind. But the yogis, they can have incredible powers to control the environment of this material world. We want air conditioning, right, to control the environment. But the yogis have so much control. So wouldn't you like to go? Wouldn't you like to see? Wouldn't you like to maybe experience what it's like to have these powers? People buy books about these. What is that? How to win friends and influence people. So these desires are stronger than we realize. These are the subtle desires, subtle or not so subtle. There are different grades of material enjoyment in respect to duration of life and sensual gratification. So all are but material enjoyments, and one should be thoroughly convinced that he has no need of such a long duration of life like Brahma's. He must return home back to Godhead and must not be attracted by any amount of material facilities. Then in the Bhagavad Gita, this sort of material detachment is possible when one is acquainted with the supreme association of life, Param Drishtva Nivartate. One cannot be freed from material attraction unless he has complete understanding of the nature of spiritual life. And this is interesting, the propaganda by a certain class of impersonalists that spiritual life is void of all varieties is dangerous propaganda to mislead the living beings into becoming more and more attracted by material enjoyments. This is supposed to be liberation. Everything is one, everything is void, everything is one or the other. There's no form, no qualities. You can transcend all these dualities. That's the pitch. But what really happens? What really happens is that we can't maintain it. To be attached to something impersonal. I mean, first of all, it's impractical. You can't live your life as if everything is one. And you can't maintain this kind of vision of oneness. It's not so easy to, what is like the Buddhists to, become free from all, to become desireless. It's hard. So what's the result? That because people think this is spiritual life, they give up on it. Or they pretend to have it, but they don't really. So the impersonalism encourages material enjoyment. Someplace, where's that verse that Shankaracharya comes and misleads people in such a way as to increase the unwanted population? I've forgotten the exact verse. So how is that? Well, we start with impersonalism and we wind up with sex. Right? Because there's nothing to hang on to in the impersonal realization, nothing that the mind can really focus on and immerse itself in. One bounces back to the alternative, material enjoyment, and that means sex. So therefore, Prabhupada says that these impersonalists, by their dangerous propaganda, mislead the living beings into becoming more and more attracted by material enjoyments. That's the result. So one has to become attached to the personality of Godhead. Then one can be freed from material attractions and enter the transcendental association of the Lord in the unlimited spiritual plans called Vaikuntha. And there's a couple comments here. Whoa. Venkatesh says, what about the claim by the researchers that they may be able to change cell behavior, cell death process, and lead to immortality of humans in the future? What about it? There's Prabhupada told the story about a potter who had a couple of pots, and he fell asleep in the, after lunch or something, and he was dreaming that if I get some money, then I'll build up the business, I'll make more pots, and then I'll get some more and more pots, and pretty soon I'll have a whole, I'll be the king of the pot enterprises. And if my wife says anything to me, I'll just kick her. And while he was thinking that way, he kicked over his pots, and he had nothing. So what do they have? They're going to influence cell behavior, and they're going to go for immortality, but there ain't no such thing. They haven't done it, and they won't. I was hearing this, 60 years ago, that we're going to make man immortal, and we're going to freeze bodies and be able to revive them, and all this stuff. Even forget immortality. When I was a kid, so like 60 years ago, we used to see on television these futuristic depictions of what life would be like, in the future. in like 50 years, what would life be like? And it included these wonderful pictures of, like the cities were like futuristic cities with monorails and cars that just drove along, with perfect regulation because you didn't have to do anything. It just went perfectly along. There was like some sort of higher control. So you just sat in your car happy. And what do we have instead? We have petroleum wars. We have huge, what is it, like 6-car pileups. We have every kind of problem. And in the future, it's going to be so wonderful. So I think the quotes have been posted here from Prabhupada talking about that. Swarup Damodar, Prabhupada, but you have not known it. You have not known it. You cannot claim that you are advanced. You are still foolish. Why are you claiming advancement? You have not known it. Swarup Damodar, yeah, but they say that in due course of time, we are going to know it. Prabhupada, another foolishness. That we do not accept. You have not known it till now. You are foolish still. That you will have to admit. In future, you will be a rich man, and therefore you give me a post-dated check. Who will accept it? The foolish person will accept it. I am giving you the check, $10 million. You can take it after 3 million years, when I shall become rich. It is a proposal that no intelligent person will accept, that check. Yeah, post-dated check, that's what they have. Akandadi Prabhu was talking about the different ways that the materialists try to deal with the origin of life and or consciousness and life. And one way is just to diminish it and say it's just another material thing. And another way is to promise that in the future we'll create it, in the future we'll be on top of it. So these are different cheating processes. These are different cheating processes in the future. Venkatesh says, that's Venkatesh. Yeah, here's 111 purport, courtesy of Samarpan Gopa. The impersonalist philosophers have given indirect impetus to the abominable mundane sex life because they have overstressed the impersonality of the ultimate truth. Consequently, man without information of the actual spiritual form of sex has accepted perverted material sex as the all in all. People don't know what the spiritual reality is, so there's nothing to be attracted to. There's nothing to be, how boring it is. What's the word for boredom? One word is monotony. Mono means one. So this is your oneness. In the name of oneness, you're giving us monotony. It's dull. It's got nothing to it. Imagine, like these. Imagine if we invited you to the temple, and what's the program? The program's nothing. What is that? Or the Buddhists, meditate on emptiness. What's in that? So therefore, indirectly, it leads to sex life. Illicit sex life. Licit or illicit. So, Rasovarjam Rasopyasya. So tomorrow's the Janmashtami. We get to celebrate Krishna's form, his qualities, his pastimes. Now that's fun. That's fun. And the impersonal Brahmajyoti, there's no fun there, no enjoyment, nothing to be attracted to. So therefore Krishna said that between the impersonalists and the personalists are definitely better, 12th chapter. Immediately. All right, let's stop here and hear from Madan Gopal about what's happening. Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. And thank you for that wonderful discussion. It's definitely very engaging to see how Prabhupada was so strong about these points. Let me just share my screen over here. Doesn't seem to be working. So Janmashtami is tomorrow, and we have a number of ways where we can celebrate it. Yeah, here we go. So tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. on this Zoom, not this particular Zoom channel that we're on, but on a different Zoom ID. You can find this on the Facebook page of Satsvarup Maharaj and the Facebook page of Ravindra Swarup Prabhu. It's in the Cure of Souls. So Satsvarup Maharaj, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj, and Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, all three speakers tomorrow with Krishna Katha, celebrating Krishna Janmashtami. So it's a good way to kick off your morning. And then, of course, in the evening, tomorrow, we have Gauranga Prabhu on the Bhakti Center channel. So we won't be having tomorrow a program on this channel, but it'll be on the Bhakti Center channel. So you can look that up on the Bhakti Center's website. And then on Thursday evening, we have Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. He is the Dean of the Education Institute at Govardhan Eco Village and the author of some very wonderful summary studies of Srimad Bhagavatam. So please try to attend that on Thursday. And of course, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. Now this Wednesday evening, Maharaj will be leading us at the same time, 8 o'clock, in honoring Srila Prabhupada. So please do join this Wednesday on the same Zoom channel. And then on Saturday, there's no program on this channel, but on Sunday evening, we have Adi Gadadhar Prabhu. We just found out that he'll be speaking on how Krishna goes fruit shopping. It's a very interesting topic. So we will look forward to having more and more kathas this week as the festival season goes on. And of course, between Janmashtami and Radhashtami, it's a very festive time. As we are abuzz with the remembrances of the Supreme Lord and Srila Prabhupada and of course Srimati Radharani. So please be joining us on this channel and look forward to seeing you all. So tomorrow in the evening, starting around 7 o'clock, we'll be broadcasting on this channel the Towaco Janmashtami Festival, where there'll be Abhishek ceremony of the Lord, so you can watch it there. And then there'll be midnight arati as well. It's not open to the public, the midnight arati, but the temple residents will be performing the midnight arati. Will be broadcasting it on the same channel. So if you'd like to watch a midnight arati and you can't go anywhere, you can watch our Towaco one on the same channel. So thank you all very much for joining. And
do you want to talk about Vyasa Puja also?
Yes. So on Vyasa Puja, there's a Vyasa Puja book that you can get online. And the website, what is the website, Maharaj, for that one? I'm just trying to see.
sptributes.com.
sptributes.com, right. Okay, I should put that up there. So sptributes.com. It's a good time to go there and download the Vyasa Puja book for this year. This way we can meditate on Srila Prabhupada and get the latest homages to Srila Prabhupada by the various disciples and devotees from all over the world. So please be sure to download that today. It's the day before Janmashtami, and you can read it tonight, read it tomorrow, and certainly read it on Srila Prabhupada's appearance day, on Vyasa Puja day, because that's a good way to concentrate our consciousness on Srila Prabhupada, to read appreciations of him by other devotees. Thank you for the reminder, Maharaj.
There's also an 11 o'clock program, Bhakti Center, on their channel. And speakers will be Rabindra Swarup Prabhu and his wife, Brahmatirtha Prabhu, maybe Rukmini Mataji, me. So that's there at 11 o'clock.
On Wednesday. Okay.
On Wednesday.
On Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja day. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, please do go to the Bhakti Center website and check it out. We've been working in partnership with them on these events. So please definitely take advantage of that. And then you can join us in the evening on this channel for Srila Prabhupada's appearance and glorification. And we see Nilmani Prabhu is here to close out the evening.
Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, again for wonderful class. Thank you, all the devotees. Wish you all a happy Janmashtami day in advance. And let's hope Lord Krishna resolves this present predicament in the near future so that we can resume our Sangha, and hopefully next Janmashtami we can celebrate in a grand way. So thank you all so much. And if possible, please do join us on Janmashtami in person for darshan and Abhishek, or on the Zoom channel. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
And if you are planning on coming to the Towaco temple for Janmashtami, please note that the temple will close at 9 p.m. So the program will really be before 9 p.m. And it's not going to be like a typical crowded Janmashtami in the sense there's no stage programs or anything. You come, you take darshan, and you take a package of prasadam, and you move right along. But this way, at least you can take darshan of the deities on that day. So it will not be, like where there's clusters of devotees and things like that. And you're required to wear a mask and so on. So if you are in the area, if you want a socially distant version of Janmashtami, at least you can stop by the Towaco temple.
And I just want to add, the darshan is going to be very, very worthwhile. I know our devotees have spent hours and hours and hours beautifully decorating the altar. The altar is really worth seeing. So you do get a chance, either in person or online, please do take darshan of our most merciful Gaurnitai. Hare Krishna.
As always, please unmute yourself. We will all together in unison thank Maharaj with one big Haribol. Thank you, Maharaj.
Haribol.
Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Pranam Maharaj. Dandvat pranam.
Haribol. Haribol.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare
Dandvat
Krishna.
pranam Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
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 Srila Prabhupada ki jai.